Hello and welcome to my next tutorial. Today we're going to be making this gnome. That's right. And if you're interested in selling any of my designs, you can go to my Patreon where you will be allowed to sell anything if you join. Let's get started on this. Alright, so to make this gnome, we're actually going to start at the very bottom and work our way up. The hat and the beard are going to be very hard, so let's get to it. We're going to start off with a sphere, so let's go ahead and drag one over here. The numbers for this one are going to be 20 by 20, which is great, and then 15. Perfect. Now we're going to drop this down 6 millimeters. I'm going to change the color because I think it looks cool. Now I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, and I'm going to move this over 19. So 19. All right, so I'm going to drag another sphere over here. This is going to be for the body, and I'm going to hit Shift and drag this up to 43. However, the top part is going to be 54, but I'm going to drag this down 11, I believe. Yep, 11. There you go. All right, so how does that look? All right, so I'm going to bundle these two right here because sometimes I'm going to have to like move these things around. I do want them to be together, so Control B for bundle. So now I'm going to select both of these, click the L for align. Good, now I can see. Notice this part right here, the sphere is right around there. Let's see if I move it forward too much, back too much. That's perfect right there. I know, I wish I had a set number for this, but it's hard to describe it. It's better to look at it and see what it's like. So now we're going to work on the arms, which we're going to start with a torus. Okay, so these are the dimensions for the arms. It's going to be 40 by 40. And the height, I believe, is going to be 9. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to rotate this a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. See, 90. I'm going to click the letter D so it can be on the work plane. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. Then I'm going to move it over 9. Oh, I'm sorry, 12. There. I'm going to bundle these by selecting both of them. Then the letter Command B. I'm sorry, Control B for you. So these are grouped. So now what I can do is I can center these over here. I'm going to select both of these, the sphere and the arms. Now I'm going to click the letter L. They're already centered this way, so we got very lucky. But I want it to be centered in this direction as well. Perfect. So there are the arms. Not too bad, right? All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of the bottom part right here. So I'm going to drag one of these boxes, and I'm just going to drag this down. Doesn't matter how big it is. I'm just going to make it big enough to cover both the body and the legs. Make sure you check the back because sometimes I've cut these things and a little bit is sticking out. Just like that, ruins the print. And whenever you're designing, you always want to be considering how is this going to print. Do it all the time when I'm designing stuff. Okay, so I don't want the arms involved here, so I'll just click on the body. I'm going to hold the Shift button down while I click on here and the box. Now I'm going to hit Control G. I'm doing that now because if I wait till the very end, it could accidentally include a bunch of things and it slows down the process dramatically. All right, so we have this. The next thing we're going to be working on is the belt. For that, we're going to get one of these rings. Here are the dimensions I used for it. So it's going to be 44 going across and going back 45, and the height is going to be 9. All right. So now I'm going to drag this over here and I'm going to move this up 12.5. So I'm just going to start moving it up and then I'm just going to stop right there and put 12.5. All right, very important here for printing purposes. You want the bottom of this thing, bottom of the belt, to be as close as possible to the body. So I'm just going to click over here. I'm going to change my snap grid to 0.1. All right, so that's pretty close, obviously not close enough. Instead of doing this manually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the shift button down. Actually, no, I can't do that. I'm just going to do it manually. I'm just using the arrow keys, as you can tell. Let's move that out right there so you can see it better. Okay, that's better. Now let's look behind the guy. Now for me, what I think about when I'm designing this is when it's printing, is this going to need supports? Because I don't like supports. I think it should be fine. If it's sticking out at all, it will need a support. And if you don't need it, why have it? Now the top part can be sticking out. That's not an issue because you don't need any supports. The belt itself will act as its own support. Okay, let's move on. We're going to work with the head now. So I'm going to bring in a sphere again. And the shape is going to be, I'm just going to hold this down and make it 37. Wow, so much easier to just type it. All right, 37. And I'm going to move it up 34. And then just type 34. And I'm going to change the color to that one right there. I'm going to select, let's select the head and the body and the arms apparently. I'm going to click the letter L. And I want it centered in this direction here. I want this to be centered that way. Okay, what did that change? Oh, I accidentally included the belt. I'm going to undo that. And you guys, if you don't want something to move, make sure that you do this. I clicked on this. I'm going to hold the shift button and click there. I'm going to click the letter L, but I'm going to click on the body again. That way it doesn't move. The head moved. See, that's what I want. Okay, so we're good to go there. That's the head. Amazing. Now the nose. I'm going to duplicate the head. I'm going to hit Control D. I'm going to move it forward a little bit. I'm going to hold down the shift button while I drag this down, and the nose is going to be 20 all the way around. Perfect nose. Now let's click the letter D. That way you know exactly where it's going to be. I'm going to move this 46. 46. There. Now, I'm going to hold the shift button and then the arrow key. It moves it faster that way. There we go. How far did I move it? I don't know. Look at it. Choose. You can move it around. It's up to you, depending on how big you want the nose to be. All right. So now, the hardest part of this thing technically is the hat and the beard. So we're going to get started with that. Let's go ahead and start with the hat. This is the dimension for the first part of the hat. We're going to make this 39.5. Now, I'm telling you it's the hardest part, but at the same time, I'm telling you, you can make your hat. It doesn't have to be exactly how I'm doing it. Okay, I'm going to make mine orange. Of course, you can change the color. However, I'm moving this up 63, I believe. 63. Here's the issue. I like how it's just bending over the nose right there. Okay, here's the issue. I'm going to move it back a little bit. And again, this look right here is custom. You just have to change it a little by little. I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. I'm going to move it up. And at the same time, I'm going to move it forward a little bit. I'm not giving you numbers here because this is all about a look. The only thing that you should be paying attention to is that I'm moving it up and I'm going to shrink it a little bit. I'm going to hold down the shift and then shrink it. Now, I don't even know if that's enough. I might move it forward a little bit so it can stand out. I'm going to hit Control D. If you see it's already starting to bend that way, I don't want it to bend that much, so 1 degree. Again, this time I want it to go the other way. And I'm going to shrink it a little bit. Control D. And you know what? At this point, I'm just going to shrink it. I'm going to move it up. Shrink it a little bit. This time I'm not holding the D because I don't want these things to be perfect. The cool thing about the hat is that it's imperfect. And even though I'm going to duplicate a lot right now, I'm going to be messing with it. So, okay, that's fine. So now I'm going to change the shape a little bit because I don't want it to be all the same. I'm going to click the letter M and then just move this over and then move it down a little bit. Let me click away and then move it down, move it over. So even though it has a nice little look here, it's better to just mess with this because it looks better just by moving things around and making it look not professional. Not like somebody just hit repeat and just said, yeah, you guys deal with it. So what I'm going for here, excuse me, is I want a slight curve over here. And over here, I do want it to curve as more. Actually, no, not as much. I want the curve to be bigger over here. So, but at the same time, I don't want it to be a perfect curve right there. That's the one I want right there. And now that I'm looking at this, I want this to be a little bit bigger too. But at the same time, I want it to go down. So let's move that down a little bit like that. And you can always play with these. I want that one to be bigger. Not the one I wanted. Sorry guys for the silence, but I am focusing. Okay. I'm going to call that good enough. I would mess with this for hours if I, had the time, but let's not. I'm going to put in the word ball for the topper, and hopefully you have this shows up. It's called a fractal ball. I'm going to drag it over here. Now it looks weird if you really focus on it. It looks super weird, but it looks perfect on top of a hat. That's why you look at it from the side. It looked perfect before, right? And then you move it over and it doesn't look as good. This one needs to move over. Again, I can move these all day if I had the time, but obviously you guys want to move on with your lives. So, sorry, I'm going to do one more. I know. That's the thing about design. You're like always going for something. Okay, so there it is. It doesn't look like much, but you can always adjust these things. Okay, that does look better there. Okay, now the beard. Now, hopefully you have access to this part. Now, a lot of students don't. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go down to the video description. You're going to click on the link. The link is going to open up and it's going to say either copy or copy in Tinker. And you click on it and it opens up the Chili. Chili is going to be on the work plane. You click on it, you hit Control C, and then you come back over here and you click on this page and you click Control V and the Chili will pop up. For me, all I have to do is hit Chili and it will show up right there. Now the Chili I used in several of my tutorials, but this time I'm just gonna be turning it 90 degrees here and I'm gonna be cutting off this part right there. So I'm gonna bring down the box, drag it up, and I just want to cut off the green section right there. And I'm going to hit Shift and click and group, Control G. Okay, now I'm going to change it to gray. Again, you can change it to whatever color and then rotate this. I don't know, I just wanted to be like standing up like hair. Okay, so, whoa, I didn't get all of that., Look at that, you see that? It's still there. So let me undo that. and move it forward. Should be good. I'm going to select both of these and then group. Okay, again, gray, there. This is the part where it really depends on you. Okay, if you want a big fat beard like this one, you can. If you want a skinnier beard, you can too. But the whole thing about these gnomes is that it covers the face, and that's the goal here. Before we actually do the beard, let me help you with this part right here. Because the back of the head has hair. So let's look at this. I want this to be straight. Right now it's kind of tilted, so let me, what did I do? 3 degrees? I don't know, maybe yours is going to be a little bit different. Here's the other thing I want you to notice. From this angle, I don't want the hair to be sticking out, so I'm going to use the arrow key. And I'm going to rotate this so that the bottom is not sticking out. I don't mind the top sticking out. I just don't want the bottom to be sticking out all by itself. Okay, do you see that? I want the hair to go a little bit lower, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this down a little bit and then raise this. Again, the dimensions don't matter. It's what it looks like. See how it's sticking out? Don't want that. So I'm going to use the arrow key. That's enough right there. Okay, is it good? Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's my little trick to make this super fast. I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. And I'm going to click the letter M. And I wanted to go in that direction, so I'm going to click here. Now I'm going to hold the Shift button down and the arrow key. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. Not bad. I want it to look the same as, on both sides. I think that's good. I'm going to move it a little bit more. Okay, so now here's what I'm going to do. Here's the trick. I have this one selected. I'm going to hit Shift and click there. Now I'm going to duplicate and rotate 1 degree. I don't know how big it's going to be. That's good. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, so I'll do it again. Okay, I selected both of them. I'm going to look on this side so you can see this. Control D, duplicate, and then I'm going to rotate this. Looks like, let's try 5 degrees. Okay, don't click on anything else. I'm going to hit D, and it's going to keep on going around this dude's head. And that's exactly what I want. Okay, obviously some of his bald head is showing, so let's go ahead. I mean, nothing wrong with that, trust me. I know what I'm talking about here. But for looks' sake, let's just go ahead and put that. And look, we automatically have hair on the dude's face. So I'm going to click, I'm just clicking on one of these. I'm going to hit forward. Now, if you notice, these are a little bit thicker. So if you want to make it thicker, you can do that. All right, so that's good. Now I'm going to hit Control D. I'm going to move this over here. Now, make sure you click on something else before you hit Control D. Otherwise, it'll just keep on going in this direction. All right. Now, the whole point of this is to not make them look all the same. Because if they do, it's gonna look funny. You want some variation. You want some height variation, so change it a little bit lower. A little bit high. Whoa, that hair looks really weird. Okay, so they're not all the same. I want to make this one higher. Great. So now I'm going to select, and I'm going to duplicate all those 3 and then move them down and around. Maybe in between those 3 right there. Now I'm going to select these 3 again and duplicate them and move them down. Yes, a pattern is emerging here. I'm not sure if you can see that. Now some of this hair is going into his chest. You're not going to see that. I'm going to move this over. I want to cover that part. And now I'm going to hit D, duplicate. Oh, I don't like it when it does that unintentionally. So I'm selecting these. I'm going to hit D, M, and then I want it to go in this direction. I'm going to hit Shift and move the arrows over here. All right, so I'm going to create a bundle. I'm going to bundle this. Control B, because now I can just move that group over here. Actually, I'm going to duplicate it. Then move it over here, and then move it over. Whoa. Let's do it from an angle. And D, and then Shift. You want this thing to be everywhere. But you don't want it to look like you're using the same exact one every time, but sometimes you just do. And I'm going to click the letter M to make it go the other direction. And then move it down a little bit so it doesn't look like you're doing the same exact thing. All right, so this one over here, I'm going to duplicate, Control D, letter M, move it over here. I just want this to be a little bit wider. I'm going to move this down and then over here a little bit. Yeah, okay. And then, I'm not sure if you're getting this, but the whole idea is to control the shape. See, I'm making it fatter on this side. Perfect. And I don't want it to go that far back, so I'll just use the arrow key. All right, that's good. I'm going to click away, duplicate this, and I'm going to move a version of this down. And then this one I'm going to duplicate. And again, you're trying to control the shape here. I'm going to duplicate this, move it down. If it goes past the belt, that's fine. It's up to you. At this point, you're just making it to be your design. I'm going to duplicate that mirror, move it over. Just like the hat, I would just be doing this all day to make it just the way I like it, but this is your preference. There is no exact way to make a beard, but you go ahead and keep playing with this. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep on going because this is the end of this tutorial. Have a great day, you guys. I'm just going to keep on playing with this for hours and hours. All right. Have a great day.